Welcome to Quantum Conversations, where we explore the energetics of healing, from frequencies to metaphysics, technology to astrology, from science to nature. Everything is energy, even you. My mission is to help you feel empowered to take your health back into your hands. My hope is that you will open your heart and your mind to a universe full of possibilities and join me for this healing exploration. Let's discover a new dimension of wellness together. Please note the information provided in this podcast, Quantum Conversations, is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. My guest today is Dr. Daryl Roberts, a naturopathic doctor who uses frequencies, light, sound, nutrition, and various energy-focused modalities to restore health and vitality in his patients. Dr. Daryl began his journey treating family members' chronic ailments through food. After seeing their dramatic results, he furthered his knowledge and became a certified plant-based chef. He then continued his work, becoming an integrative nutrition health coach, and went on to become a certified health specialist, certified flower essence practitioner, certified national health professional, and doctor of naturopathy. If you're curious to hear how AOScan technology can be applied in holistic practice in unique and profound ways, if you've always wondered how homeopathy works, or if you want to get a better understanding of the impact emotions have on healing, this episode is for you. Well, welcome, Dr. Daryl. Thank you so much for joining me. I am so grateful that our paths crossed earlier this year at the Solex conference. And now we have an opportunity to dive into all the things that both of us are super passionate about. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I've been checking you out for a little while, so I'm very interested in your work, your path, and I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your background and how you became a naturopathic doctor. Were you always involved in holistic healing, or what was your journey that brought you to this?
Yeah, my background is technology. So I was a PC technician. I built computers, I took them apart, I repaired them, I worked on websites, networks, and around the year 2000, I had the bright idea to go vegan.
Okay.
And so I didn't like vegetables though. So I decided to go vegan. I ruined my own health because my diet consisted of pizza and pasta and breadsticks and French fries. I even then had the further notion to do a detox. And I did a liver detox, not realizing that I was the most dehydrated person on earth. And I was drinking loads and loads of coffee. So my skin broke
Mm.
out to the point that it took about 5 years to repair.
Oh my.
So I
Okay.
destroyed my own health is the point here.
Okay.
And then after that, I went on this journey to regain my own health. And so I started out by becoming a health coach. And after doing that for a little while, I realized that I knew stuff, and I knew how to motivate people. As a health coach, they teach you how to motivate people to do what they've already figured out that they wanted to do. That wasn't good enough for me. So at
Hmm.
that point, I decided, okay, I need to go back to school. And I went back to become a naturopath, a traditional naturopath. And so that started the real journey on where I am right now.
Awesome. Yeah, I feel like everybody that is in, well, not everybody, but a lot of people who are in holistic health have some sort of, my health was a wreck.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to fix it. I went down
Yep.
the rabbit hole doing research.
Yeah.
And then once you heal yourself, a lot of people want to turn around and heal others
Yeah.
and help others. So you have a pretty extensive background in the nutrition area. You got certified like as a chef as well, or you have experience
Yeah.
working as
I
a
became
chef?
certified as a plant based chef.
Okay.
Because I still didn't go back into eating meat. And so I wanted to learn, I want to teach people how to, if they want to go vegetarian, how to do so without ruining their own health. And the best way to
Hmm.
do that is to eat vegetables. I didn't know anything about cooking vegetables. And so
Mm.
I went back to learn how to do that.
Yes. Yeah. So, what modalities are you using now? What does your naturopathic practice look like now? And like, how has it evolved since you started?
Well, much like health coaching school, when you go to school for naturopathy, they're just teaching you concept, all of these different concepts. And so you're figuring out what resonates with me. And one of the things that resonated with me a lot was sound and homeopathy, because we're dealing with frequencies,
Hmm.
frequencies from sound, frequencies from energy, other, all of these different frequencies. And so that led me into that area a lot more. So I became certified in flower essence therapy, which is like homeopathy, but with a specialty of flower essences instead of other substances. So in my practice now, I deal a lot with people with from two different perspectives. One, digestive issues, and people with emotional imbalances that they're looking, because the emotions are going to play a huge part on the rest of the body.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the clients that come to me, they are emotionally done, adrenal fatigue, but sometimes experiencing anxiety and depression. And I utilize frequencies, energy in order to help balance the body out in that way.
Awesome. Yeah. So I find it interesting, like the frequencies and the plants and the flowers. To me, there's a lot missing in the educational piece
Yeah.
about the energetics of plants
Yeah.
and about flowers, especially. I feel like we could go off on a whole tangent just on that. But let's talk a little bit about nutrition's role in the energetic healing of the body, because it's not just like that vegetables have fiber,
Hmm.
right? Do you want to maybe expand a little bit on why you think like a vegetarian diet is so helpful to people in their healing?
Well, vegetables, fruit, grains, things that were grown, they have a life force in them. And so, depending on where you are in the world, different vegetables grow, different plants grow, different fruits grow, and it pulls the energy from the area that it's grown. And that energy is innate to that plant, that vegetable, that fruit, but it's also innate to the person that is consuming that vegetable, that plant, that fruit. We're in 2023, so we can have something that was picked in Brazil in our living room in Chicago if we really want, but that's not the way nature set it up. And so when we're eating vegetables, when we're eating fruits that are, from my perspective, that's what the human body is designed to thrive from. We eat them, we cook them if we're going to cook them, and we put them inside of our body. They do have fiber there, but then they go through our digestive system, and the liver turns that into frequency. So anything that we eat turns into a frequency. It has a frequency that some people can see and feel while it's still in the plant form, and that energy is modified somewhat as we're cooking it, and it's completed inside of our digestive system. But our liver turns everything that we eat into the frequency, and it is that frequency that causes healing in the body. If I eat a piece of broccoli, the piece of broccoli isn't doing anything without the digestive system being at work. And what the digestive system, or the liver in particular, is looking for in that is the energy, the frequency of that piece of broccoli. And then it sends that throughout the body with the help of the brain to do what it wants to do. So everything that we eat is energy, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
plants or animals. And so we have to be careful of the energy that we're bringing in. Um, I personally don't eat animals. However,
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's even more important for those who do eat animals to make sure that the energy of the animal that they're consuming isn't causing them harm.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. It's so important to know the source of your food. But something that's really interesting to me about plants specifically, because I have had gardens in the past where I've grown my own vegetables, and I recently transitioned to flowers just out of simplicity and joy. I love flowers. But when you're growing your own plants, do you think that the frequency of them, like the plant is growing for you and matching your energy. Have you
Yeah,
heard of that concept before?
absolutely. I was watching a documentary on Gaia, and it was, I think it was The Secret of Water.
Mm.
I was just watching that last week, and they were talking about different plants that were grown and people who would speak to the plants as they were watering the plants, people who would speak to the water prior to watering the plants. And this energy is transferred from all living beings. And so you have energy from us that we are throwing at our plants as we're actually growing them. And it was scientifically showing that those plants that had specific energies that were thrown at them, whether it was talking to them, touching them, talking to the water, doing something to the water energetically prior to giving it to the plants, they grew faster, they were stronger, and it just proves this hidden knowledge that we hopefully will one day grow into, that
Hmm.
energy is being exchanged constantly between
Yes.
everything that's alive. And I strongly believe that.
Yeah, there's a symbiotic relationship that really is in the invisible realm, in
Yeah.
that quantum realm,
Yep.
that I think we're just kind of beginning to open the door a
Yeah.
little bit
Scratch the
to
surface. Yep.
understand.
Yeah.
I think I was listening to Paul Stamets recently talking about the mycelium in the ground from the fungi, and how when you play drums and you sing like our ancestors did
Hmm.
outside barefoot directly on the earth, that actually enriches, like the mycelium then enriches the soil in that area,
Hmm.
just based off of the beating of the drums and the frequency of the singing that it can sense. That to me, like they studied that. That's just so incredible. And I wish and hope that we're going to be tapping into that more.
Yeah, I've never heard of that. However, that makes sense to me. You know, when we start looking at traditions that people who we consider more simplistic than us, that they did naturally, we haven't even come up to the understanding of why they did these things.
Hmm.
And unfortunately for us, we think that our technology is superior when the reality is they were using technology as well. And the technology that they used was inside of themselves. We've gotten
Yes.
completely away from that technology in
Hmm.
favor of technology that we can see,
Yes.
technology that has that we can build, that
Hmm.
has metal around it or plastic around it. That seems to be superior than energy that comes from here.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. And the more that we can tap into that inner technology, I think a lot
Yeah.
of us are waking up to that. But I also think that it is these new technologies, these tangible devices and whatnot, that's going to help people tap into their own inner technology
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I love that. So let's talk about how we can harness the power, those frequencies of the plants, of the flowers, of nature, because we are so disconnected from nature. And there's so many people in the world that don't even have access to it. I mean, they're living in food deserts, they are living in big cities or just like concrete areas where a lot of nature doesn't even exist. But we can actually harness the energy and frequency of nature. And you touched on this a little bit with like homeopathy
Mhm.
and Bach flower remedies. So, homeopathy, I think, is kind of elusive to people. Like they don't understand how it works. So, why don't you just expound on that a little bit?
On how homeopathy works.
Yeah, homeopathy, the because it's like I'm taking this sugar pellet. How does it have the frequency of a plant seed in
Yeah.
it? Or what is that doing for me?
Yeah. So one of the things that, if we go back to earlier in the conversation, I was telling you about um, my doing a detox and how badly my got. Skin broke out terribly. I was under the care of dermatologist for about 3 years from that. And one of the things that she did for me was she made me what's known as a compound ointment. And it was, base of it was sulfur, literal sulfur. right? So I would take this smelly sulfur and I put it all over my body. And it worked. It was great because my skin was so inflamed, the sulfur would pull it down. However, I was also damaging my cells by pulling sulfur into the system. But it was necessary because I needed the frequency that the sulfur turned into after it got inside of my bloodstream in order to command my body to reduce inflammation.
Mm-hmm.
When you're dealing with homeopathy, when I'm dealing with someone who experienced what I experienced, one of the main things that I use is a homeopathic version of sulfur. And so the essence of that sulfur, the frequency of the sulfur, has been reduced down to only frequency, because before I was getting it in frequency and substance. So I'm getting the good part of it, which is the frequency, but I'm also getting the bad part of it, which is the substance. In
Mm-hmm.
homeopathy, we're reducing it down only to the frequency, so that instead of the body or the liver or the kidneys having to deal with the negative aspects of it, the body can just take the frequency and do its thing. So when I do that and I give or suggest that someone uses sulfur in a homeopathic pellet, there's a couple of different processes that have been happening. If it's traditional homeopathy, they had a big vat and they literally took it and diluted it down, and diluted it more and more and more. The more you dilute it, the stronger the frequency gets because the more of the substance you're taking out of it, until they finally got it to a point that it was all frequency at whatever dilution that they wanted. If they're putting it in pellets, there's a process of pouring it in and letting it dry. Others will be in tincture bottles. Um, but fortunately, we don't have to do that anymore because we also have scientists that have been able to extract the frequency into a digital format.
Mm-hmm.
And we can take that frequency using different devices. I use a few different devices to harness the frequency of these things and simply copy it, just like we're used to copying. If depending on how old you are, a tape, a
Yep.
CD, a DVD, just as we're able to copy a digital file from one thing to another. And if you were to copy, I think that the youngest part of the population now probably recognizes DVDs, right?
Mm-hmm.
They probably don't even know about tapes. If you take a DVD and you copy it to another DVD, if you do it right, you didn't dilute the quality. It the new machine that you put it in played it in just as well, and you're looking at the same thing. No matter how many times you copy it, you're looking at the same thing. So we have these machines now, or devices, depending on what you're using, that allows us, once the frequency has been isolated, we can then pull that frequency down into a glass of water, into a dropper bottle, into sugar pellets. And then from that, we can bring them into our bodies, and the frequency resonates inside of our body and it does its job. And we can do it almost instantaneously now without having to find real sulfur and go through that long, extraneous, and dangerous process of
Right.
breaking it down to frequency.
Right. Okay. That is, I think, the best explanation I've ever heard of homeopathy. I've tried to get other people to explain it to me before. And when you said that you're getting it so that the entire physicality of it no longer exists
Yeah.
in that solution and nothing is left but the energy of it. To me, it's like I envisioned that like you're literally removing the spirit of the plant or the seed or whatever it is
Mm-hmm.
from the body,
Yeah.
right? And
Yep.
you can do that in your physical form as well. You can have a spirit body disconnection. But okay, that makes so much more sense to me because I've been trying to wrap my head around how, like, okay, so they're like shaking a seed in the water.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. It
somebody
is.
help me understand
It's
how
funny
this is.
though. If you when you see it done, it is interesting to watch.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Yeah. And when you do that, when you can extract the energy, extract the spirit of that, that is the language of the body.
Yeah.
You are like skipping a few steps ahead. So rather than having to ingest it and burn all of this energy and have this whole process in your digestive system where you have to break it down and then it's absorbed by the cells and then your mind, like all of these things, you just skip ahead to the good part And you just give your body the message that it needs,
Yeah.
right? Like
And when you
here's
talk about the digestive system, the body depends on the digestive system to be working properly for this to even complete itself. Most of the time, when you're taking something that's medical, your system isn't working properly.
Mhm.
And the sad thing is that's built in. So when people take medication, the medication is given at a higher dose than what's actually needed in the body because it is assumed that your digestive system will not be able to pull it all out. So they put more in there to
Mm.
compensate for what your body isn't going to be able to break down so that more will get through. Problem is, sometimes your body does a great job at breaking it down and you get it at too high of a level, and then there are other consequences to that.
Mhm. Yep, that makes a lot of sense too. So, yeah, let's talk about the role of digestion in this whole process because that was a big thing that I struggled with and something that I finally addressed this year. That you can be taking all of the supplements. You can be eating, like I was vegan for 18 months. I did all kinds of different diets. I did energy healing and all the things, but I could not get better until I realized and finally tested my gut and figured out that
Yeah,
I wasn't absorbing anything.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. They call it expensive pee and poop because
mm-hmm,
you're taking all of these supplements. And again, the supplements depend on the digestive system to be working. Pretty much anything that you take, whether it's a supplement or medication, either your liver or your kidneys will have to process it, right? And then your body has to absorb it, and it needs to go through the entire process, not straight into the digestive system, or excuse me, straight into the bloodstream without going through the entire digestive system. And a good number of Americans deal with leaky gut. So my point is, for many people, the process of complete digestion is not even possible. So, dealing with digestion and making sure that you're absorbing your foods, making sure, and absorbing your foods are the only way you're going to pull the nutrients out of it is through absorption. Absorbing your foods, absorbing the supplements that you're taking. If you don't absorb them, you won't digest them. And if you don't absorb and digest them, they won't do your body any good. You will just pee them out, poop them out. Sometimes people complain that literally the entire pill came out when they went to the bathroom. They'll see it.
mm-hmm,
It's because their body isn't capable of breaking it down. Sometimes it has to do with the supplements themselves, though. They come with
right.
these compounds around it that make it a little bit difficult to break down. But regardless, if you can't digest it, you can't receive the benefit from it.
Right. So, what are some things that you're doing in your practice to help people who have those issues of like malabsorption or low hydrochloric acid? What is your approach and how you are addressing it? Is it just at a physical level or is it emotional level as well?
Well, I do both. First of all, I tend to use a company that has pre-digested supplements. And when you're dealing with pre-digested supplements, they're broken down inside of the capsule with digestive enzymes prior to your body bringing them in. So, in that sense, because most of the people that I work with do have digestive issues,
Mhm.
your body will get much more of it regardless. It's not dependent on their digestive system. I kind of walk into it understanding that. And until I get their digestive system where I need it, I usually use I use supplements that are pre-digested. I also know that emotional health is literally the key and trigger to digestion. When you are afraid, the first place you feel it is in your stomach. When you're nervous, first place you feel it is inside of your gut somehow, or your urinary tract, depending on how scary you get. And so I utilize inner voice in the AO scanning system with all of my clients in order to address emotions and address body systems inside of the body that allow them to deal with that. Literally, again, we're dealing with energy and we're dealing with frequency. And that goes back to sound. I deal a lot in sound therapy, and the AO scanning system that I use helps in that. They get specific tones that are designed specifically for them, that were made off of their voice print. We can see where the imbalances are, and that allows the system to reset. It allows the emotional aspect to balance out. And that helps a lot with the physical. So there is no disconnect in my brain from the
Mhm.
physical and the emotional both have to be tied for the body to heal. The body's in fight or flight, it cannot heal. Your body's just keeping you alive. Have to get you out of fight and flight so your body can even have a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. That has been a huge piece on my healing journey, and something that I have actually been really surprised by. A lot of the, not a lot of the holistic community. I think the holistic community is kind of starting to talk about that more, but like the biohacking community, I've been at a few events this year, and it's like emotions are not even on their radar.
Yeah. Yeah.
They just literally want to like hack their way
Mhm.
to healing. And I'm like, y'all, you're not going to get very far until you address your
And they're going to
emotions.
crash at a certain point.
Yeah. So let's chat about emotions a little bit more. And before we dive into the AO scan and like the technology piece of things, I am fascinated by Bach flower remedies. And because you are a flower essence coach or expert, I would love to explain to people what this is, how it works. Most people think, flowers just bring you joy. You love the smell of them, but there is something insanely powerful that can happen with certain flowers addressing emotions in your body.
So it's interesting when you said most people know the smell and it makes them feel good. And then you use the word but, because that's changing things. The truth is, the fact that most people love them is the energy itself. What they're doing is they're connecting with energy. They don't understand the energy that they're connecting to. But when children see flowers, when people see flowers, it changes the mood. When we smell these flowers, depending on the flowers that we smell, it immediately has an energetic effect inside of us that changes things almost instantaneous. And that is the energy of these flowers. So Bach flowers in general, Bach flowers are they're the main flowers in the United States. Australia has a whole line of flowers that even more. But most people in Europe or England and the United States, when they hear about flower essences, they're thinking about Bach flowers. And Bach flowers, and it's BACH for people who don't know the spelling of
Mhm.
it. It was originated by a doctor by the name of Edward Bach. He was a homeopath in England, and he was a medical doctor though, but he used homeopathy more than anything else. He considered surgery the crudest form of healing, physically cutting into somebody. And so, because he was a homeopath, he was really sensitive. He was sensitive to energy to the point that he could touch it and feel it.
Mm.
And he would experiment with flowers, and he would touch a flower and he would be able to feel the vibration from the flower. And he would touch another flower and he could feel a different vibration from the other flower. And so it took him down a course of study where he was able to identify 38 of them. And the 38 flowers that he identified from his perspective had everything that was necessary to help heal the full range of human emotions. And he did this through experimentation. He would feel the frequency of a flower and he would feel that it matched the frequency of a specific person who was dealing with a specific emotional imbalance. Took him a while, but he was able to then match all of these different frequencies together.
Mhm.
And he utilized the essence of those flowers by breaking them down in very much the same way that you would do in homeopathy. With him, he used sunlight, spring water, and then the flower. They would sit in this vat and they would sit underneath the sun for a specific amount of time in order to pull the essence of that flower into the water, and it would make basically a tea,
Wow.
what we consider a tea, because the essence of that would be inside of there. They would then come into the tincture bottles that we practitioners would now use in order to make individual bottles for people. So there's a flower essence for all of the different emotions. There's a flower essence called white chestnut for people who have repetitive thoughts over and over and over again. There's a flower essence larch for people who need confidence. If you are afraid of things that you know what they are, there's a flower essence for that. But if you're afraid of things that you don't know what they are, meaning I
Mm.
don't know, I'm just fearful and I don't know why, there's a different flower essence for that. And so, as a practitioner, we have a discussion with people. And that discussion allows us to see where on the emotional spectrum they are. And knowing the various flower essences, we then recommend, or in my case, if they're in my office, I make it for them right then and there, a tincture bottle, and I give that to them. And the tincture bottle is like any other homeopathic bottle. I can even put them in pellets if I really want to. And they put several drops underneath their tongue several times a day, or they put several drops in water and sip on that water throughout the day. And
Mhm.
it goes a long way with balancing out their emotions. Now, if they were in nature, they could find these particular flowers and probably ingest most of them. Some of them are poisonous, most of them are not.
Mhm.
Ingest some of them and allow their body to pull that frequency out. But now we have all 38 of them in bottles that we can use to make other tincture bottles for people and make the process a little bit easier. And most of these bottles are in, or at least a good number of them are in most Whole Foods or health food stores throughout the United States. And it allows people to study and see what emotions they're experiencing and to go and grab that prior to grabbing something that might be more toxic.
Yes, I love Bach flower remedies, and they were super helpful for my daughter when she was experiencing sensory processing disorder and all of the range of emotions that went along with that. They're so calming,
Yes.
and they really are so
They work really
balancing.
fast.
They do. It's like an instantaneous
Yeah.
thing. And just putting a couple drops in your water in the morning, it truly does lift your mood, help to calm any anxious thoughts or anger that you're experiencing,
Yep.
depending on what you're using.
Yep.
Um, but I love that nature has truly provided all of this for us. Like this already exists,
And it
and we didn't
existed
have to.
prior to him finding it.
Yeah,
He just discovered this. He discovered what was already in existence. And that's
yeah.
the thing. What else is sitting around that we haven't discovered yet?
Exactly. And it makes me think about like how our ancestors and like the women were typically the foragers, and it's they didn't have Google back then
Yeah.
to be able to say like what does Arnica montana do or what does this flower do. And when you said that he could simply touch the flower
Yeah.
and feel the frequency of it, I truly believe that our ancestors were just so much more in touch with the earth
Hmm.
that that's how some of that wisdom was passed down to them,
Yeah.
that they would go out and forage. They, yes, the elder women would probably tell the younger women like this is not safe and this one is, but there also had to be a level of like energetic discernment
Hmm.
too, where you almost like a muscle testing, like a kinesiology or just a sensing and intuitive knowing of what was good and what wasn't. So
When you look at the forest and you're looking at animals, they have that. No, they instinctually know what to eat, what not to eat, what to go to, which animals are predators and which animals are not. They have this vibrational communication that's going on with them and everything that's around them. I don't know too many people who think that animals are superior to human beings. So if animals are our inferior, yet they can do this and they know that how to read energy and how to read vibration and how to know what's what, it's only logical that we can do it too. We just don't know how.
yes, yet. Yeah. I think,
Yes, correct.
I hope that we're tapping, I really do hope that we're tapping back into that. Okay. So you also practice, aside from the Bach flower remedies, which are so cool and so helpful with emotions, you also practice auriculotherapy,
Yeah, yeah.
which is the ears and like
Yeah, yeah.
certain points in the ears.
There are points all over the ear. Here's my little fake ear. So on the ear, there are on this little or this ear is about 310 points that we know about. And so when you stimulate points on the ear, there are protocols for all these various conditions. And when you stimulate points on the ear, you're stimulating the acupuncture points or the acupressure points that are on the body. You can stimulate them all inside of the ear. But the ear is directly connected to the brain through the vagus nerve. And it's literally that is the actual connection. You have all of these internal wires that are going from the ear to the brain. And you're stimulating them either with electricity or with lasers or light, and it allows the brain to process things a lot differently, or to help the body relieve itself of pain or help digestion. So yeah, I do that in house when I'm working with someone in the office. Pretty much everyone that I see has some form of auricular therapy that complements whatever other therapies we're doing.
Cool. So you're using, did you say lasers or light for that? Because I've seen.
Lasers or electricity, and it depends on who I'm dealing with. Like if I'm dealing with a child, I'm gonna use laser. I'm not gonna use electricity. If I'm dealing with somebody who's super sensitive, or they feel like that I might be putting a needle in them, I'll
Mm,
use laser. If I'm dealing with someone who's with child, I'll use laser. The electricity just allows me to know which point is active, so I'll know which point to treat. But if I have to use laser, I just treat every point in the protocol.
very cool. Yeah, there, I think I had seen some images where like an embryo is basically the shape
Yeah.
of your ear.
Yeah. Yeah. It's called an upside down embryo. So this area down here, this is all head and brain stuff. As we go around here, we're looking at spine. When we get, it's an embryo that where the hands and the feet are in various positions. So all of the organs are in the inner portion here. The hands and feet are in this area here. The head is down here. The spine is here. This is the skin. So yeah, it's like an upside down baby in the womb.
Yeah, that the body is just so amazing.
Yeah. And just
Is
like we
there's
have points on the hands and the feet and the rest of the body that still correspond with those spots, we even have them on the ear. And one area or one modality is not more powerful than the other one. That's the when I go back to naturopathy, this is something that I was drawn to, but I could have just as well been drawn to reflexology or hand massage and known the points there. I just happen to know the ones on the ear.
right. There's so many paths to the same destination. And that really is like the intelligence of the body
Yeah.
that, like, we have two nostrils
Yes.
instead of just one,
Yeah.
right? Like the points that you can use to help heal your body aren't just on your ear, they're also
Mhm.
on your hands and your
Yeah.
feet.
Yep.
Um, there's so many options.
Yeah.
And so going along with like the ear, this doesn't, you, auricular therapy doesn't have anything to do with sound, but you use sound a lot in your practice.
I
And
do.
are you using the sound portion in person at all, or is that the virtual portion?
No, it depends. I use it a lot in person.
Okay.
I use it every time virtually, though.
Okay.
So when I have someone in, I usually am going to do an auricular therapy session on them if they're actually seeing me. However, it's also important for me as I'm working on them in various ways to have them calm and relaxed. And so, when we get into the AO scanning system, there's a thing called inner voice where you can scan and you can find out the emotional state that's going on, and it immediately produces tones. I normally make them listen to that while I'm working on them. So
Mm.
I'll either use bone conducting headphones or I'll use the brain tap headset, which is a completely different device, and I'll put that on them while I'm working on points on their body, or I'm doing something else to them, depending on what they're there for. But there are times though when I'm dealing with somebody who's having some digestive issues. I have a sound portal that I use with my clients, and in that portal are the sound frequencies to organs or modalities or various health techniques. And these are the frequencies that have been put in sound form. So when your eardrum hears that particular sound, the frequency of it is translated in the brain, and the brain then directs whatever the frequency is. So it could be the liver, could be the kidneys, it could be the large intestine, could be something to help the brain calm down from stress. But putting those headphones on them as I'm working on their digestive system to have specific sounds that are playing that stimulates their digestive system goes a long way with helping in that session. So
Oh, I'm
really I'm
sure.
dealing with the person in front of me. I'm finding out what they need. And I'm
Hmm.
usually using sound inside of that session in some way to either relax the person or to tap into the organ that I'm trying to help heal.
Yeah, this is so important for practitioners to hear. Like, let's put two and two together here, where we know from a physical standpoint that people cannot digest food
Yeah.
properly if you are in a fight or flight state. you cannot heal properly if you are in a fight or flight state. The
Yep.
healing piece is just as important as the digestion piece, as the calming the vagus nerve, all of that comes into play. And so it makes so much sense that you would want to calm the nervous system down before
Yep.
you even attempted
Yep.
to heal an area of the body, whether that's a
Absolutely.
chiropractic adjustment or an acupoint session or something like that. That's amazing.
Yeah, in the office,
Literally.
I put them on a jade stone mat. So
Mhm.
while I'm working on them, they're getting the healing frequencies of jade and tourmaline going down their spine and they're back inside of their fascia tissue. And so that's doing half the work for me.
Mhm.
Everything else that I'm doing is just complementing what's being done there. My goal is for at the end of our sessions for the client to get up and just say, "Wow, I really feel different." They're not healed, but
Right.
they're on their way, and
Mhm.
that allows belief to take place because belief is a frequency.
Yes.
It is a frequency that will expedite healing. I always tell people when I'm talking to them, not necessarily the clients, but when I'm talking to other healers and educators, it is not really important that our clients believe. Belief is not going to stop healing, belief or not belief. It's not going to stop healing. But if they disbelieve, it could interfere with their healing. So, like,
Mm.
let's just say they have a surgery scheduled, right? Surgery doesn't care. It's a course treatment. The surgeon doesn't care whether or not you believe that this is going to work. But if the person does not believe so strongly that they don't even go to the appointment, well, now their disbelief has stopped any type of healing because they don't even get the surgery. So,
Mhm.
what I want is to calm the mind down so I can do my job. Even if you don't believe, as long as you are not so staunch in your disbelief, you're not interfering in the process, that not believing turns into belief after a couple of sessions. And
Yes.
now their healing is expedited.
Yeah.
So that's my goal. I need to turn you into a believer so that you can expedite your healing.
Absolutely. It really is the mind that is so powerful, and it makes so much sense
Yeah.
that you really do need to get people feeling safe in their own bodies
Yep.
in order for healing to take place, and to relax everything, to release that tension in the body. The tension is only going to increase the feeling of the pain when
Yes.
you feel constricted, and to kind of like let go and be more in that flow. That's huge.
Yep.
So I love that that's something that you're incorporating into your practice. And we can definitely talk about AO scan now, because that technology, you're using it. You've already touched on the inner voice portion of
Yeah.
it and how that the music is helping to calm your patients down. But what else are you using AO scan for? I guess, what would you like to share about it that you appreciate so much?
Well, there every one of the things I love about the AO scanning system is it does so many different things and it allows the practitioner to use it however they need or want. There is no real right or wrong. We're dealing with quantum physics, we're dealing with quantum entanglement, and in quantum physics, your limit is your belief system. So if I can't think of something, then that's the limit. It's right there. My inability to perceive something. So I use my AO scanner probably a lot differently than most. And I rely more heavily on the inner voice report than anything else. I think it is a misconception that the inner voice report is for emotions. I think that the inner voice report definitely will show you the emotions. And there are two portions of the inner voice report that have the emotional component on it. But then there are four other portions of the inner voice report that have nothing to do with emotions. You have a section that shows. I look at the inner voice report as what the frequency is. So you have E sharp. I'm now just making something up because I'm not looking at
Mhm.
the report. You got E sharp that's there, and it will show you which of the body systems are most affected by that. It's got nothing to do with emotions from my standpoint. I'm looking at that frequency and that body system, and I'm giving that more weight in that treatment that day. It then has a system for vitals to let you know which frequency of vitals came up. It's got nothing to do with emotions. I'm giving those more weight that day. It's giving you specific emotions, and it's giving you some suggestions. And I'm looking at that, and I'm also looking at the numerical value that's assigned to it. You know, you have that bar where it has which frequencies there are
Mm.
and what the numerical value is. When I deal with meridian therapy, because or auricular therapy is dealing with the meridian systems. We're balancing out meridians, and I do a meridian scan. We didn't even talk about that, but I do a meridian scan, and what we're looking at is an average number. And what is out of balance is being considered what's not in that average. So if something is here and then you have something that goes way up there, that one that was way high or way low is more out of balance than the rest of the body. So again, I'm going to make up some numbers here. When I'm looking at the inner voice, if I'm seeing 7.4, 7.8, 8.0, 9.0, and then 24,
Mm.
well, that 24 is much more of a concern to me than all of the rest of them because it went so far, either above or below what their average is, that I really zone in on whatever that frequency is.
Okay.
And if I have one that's really out of balance like that, that's all I care about. That will be the sound that I have them hear. That will be the color that I have them look at. That will be the body system that I focus on, and I'll tie their condition into that specific system a lot more. And so, from my vantage point, inner voice is used from an emotional standpoint, which it should be, but it also tells the picture of the rest of the body in that moment from my perspective. And I rely on that more than I rely on anything else.
That's incredible. And it makes so much sense because that's how everything is connected.
Yeah.
And our voice is a direct reflection of our health.
Yes.
And a lot of times when we start to get, like a hoarse voice, or we feel like we're sick and the sickness is causing our hoarse voice or whatever, it actually is your voice is trying to tell you. And when I do my voice recording when I'm ill, like I've had a cough or
Mm-hmm.
something, it's so crazy to me that it will show me the emotions that likely caused me to have that illness in the first place.
Yep. Absolutely.
And I'm like, okay, these are the things that I need to be working on in order to avoid getting this illness again. Because you're going to keep getting that same illness if you're
Mm-hmm.
experiencing the same emotions.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
And from my perspective, when those numbers start getting closer together, I tell my clients when the numbers start getting closer together, that's when you know that your body is leveling out. You know, you have some people that are freaked out that things keep popping up. And I always tell people, you're always going to have four things there. You can be completely perfect. But if the numbers are all in the same realm and you're feeling great, then you are expressing the positive portions of that. I had a client recently who got engaged. And when I did his scan, um, uncertain about love was his top emotion. But he was balanced that day from my perspective. And so he from my perspective, it wasn't a negative, it was a positive, meaning the frequency of uncertain about love was so high in him because he was so certain about love. You know,
Mm.
we have to realize that there is a pendulum or balance even in the reports. And most people focus on it in a negative way, but some people are balanced. And when
Hmm.
they are balanced, they have to look at their frequency and their reports a little bit differently and not go into panic mode thinking that, oh my God, is this not right? Should I not get married? No, no, no. You're probably in a really good place with that right now.
Right. I love it. There really are so many different ways to interpret it. And it's just such an amazing educational tool to have that
Yeah.
awareness about yourself, about your emotions. Even as a parent, for me, using it on my kids to
Yeah.
have an awareness of the emotions that they are experiencing, that they literally don't have the words to communicate
Yes.
yet,
Yes.
but the sound of it is coming through just in their voice alone.
Yep.
Um, yeah. I
And when
mean,
you're
I could go
dealing with
on about
little kids too, you have to really talk to their parents and understand, the parents will say, well, how are they uncertain about love? They haven't experienced it yet. And I have to break down, well, everything is a frequency. You have to put words to this specific frequency. And so they could be dealing with some emotional turmoil. They could be having some inherent feelings where they're disconnected from love, you know,
Mhm.
and I'm using that just as one scenario, but the
Mhm.
words are written in a way that gets confusing when you're dealing with little kids.
Yeah.
And so a deeper discussion needs to happen there from my perspective.
Right. So I'm curious, have you been using MindSync, the MindSync program?
Yeah, I was actually responsible for testing out
Ooh,
MindSync.
nice.
I was at our last meeting or day of discovery at Solex, the company that makes the AO scanning system. I helped to introduce MindSync, and MindSync is a system where you are actually speaking your affirmations. And after speaking your affirmations, they are put into a binaural beat format for you to listen back to them. And that is amazing for people who are dealing with anxiety or depression or limiting beliefs, to be able to listen to affirmations that come from you. Most of us are familiar with affirmations. And if we're open to them, we're listening to them from other people that we either don't know or greatly respect. Usually is one or the other, some
Mhm.
famous person or someone we don't know. Um, but the body doesn't care about that as much as it cares about you. So in Mind Sync, it's you that record your own voice, and the voice is then sent back to you in a binaural beat format so that your brain knows exactly how to deal with that. And when you listen to these affirmations that are your own voice, you become then director of yourself. You're telling yourself that you're great. You're telling yourself that you can do this or that you have this particular power. And in
Mhm.
Mindset, they give you these affirmations, but you can make your own affirmations. Again, it goes back to your own limiting ability to think of things or to find things or research things. So I went on a little tangent there, but MindSync is absolutely amazing when it comes to giving yourself affirmations. And
Yeah.
I've never seen anything even close to it out there, because most of the time it's someone else.
Mhm. Yes. Yeah. Most of the time you're listening to somebody else. And I think people get like frustrated with affirmations because they don't really work if you aren't really retraining your subconscious mind,
Mhm.
right? You can write them down a lot over and over and over again. You can say them out loud to yourself in a mirror, but the way that it's designed specifically with the MindSync program, where the sound itself is putting your brain into a theta state, to an 8 hertz theta state,
Mhm.
that is where you can actually reprogram. And it's almost like a state of hypnosis
Yeah.
where you can now receive affirmations and your brain is actually open to accepting them.
Yep.
Um, yeah,
Both that, along with it being your voice, removes the brain's natural inclination to reject it.
right, right.
Yeah.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit more about this sound portal that you offer. Is it like a subscription? It's all online. How do people
If I'm
access that?
working with someone, the sound portal just becomes part of working with me. So I have people who are working with me in person. I have people who work with me virtually, and we utilize the sound portal. Meaning, after our sessions, I do so many things. If we're virtual, I'm usually doing your analysis. I'm doing inner voice where we're analyzing things, and we're using supplements. But there's various times where we need to utilize specific frequencies of sound. Well, it's expanding now, but let's just stick to sound. I will assign them a specific therapy to listen to, and then that will be the assignment until the next time that I hear them, for them to listen to the sound therapy some of them are meditations, some of them are specific frequencies that are measured out to do very specific things. Now, there are some people that I'm not working with directly, and they're just subscribers to the sound portal. And inside of the sound portal, we have frequencies for the liver and the heart and the lung and all of the various organs. If let's just say they have an inner voice scan and or some sort of an AO scan, and they say that, oh, I need to work on my liver because it's problematic.
Mm-hmm.
We have the frequency of the liver that has been changed over into sound, that when you listen to it, it redirects the brain to deal with that aspect of the body. But we also have meditations there. We have affirmations there. We have frequencies that are designed to do almost every aspect of balancing the system, whether you are utilizing the AO scanner or not. There are things that will help you sleep. Sound therapy in its extreme. So I know that sound therapy sounds like a general term, and it is, but whether you're looking for meditation, whether you're looking for affirmations, whether you're just looking for specific frequencies that are designed to help you to sleep or to help you calm down, deal with anxiety and deal with depression, it's there. But one of the things that I'm doing now is expanding it. So by the time this comes out, it might not even be called Sound Therapy Portal anymore. It'll probably be called my Quantum Wellness Portal,
Oh, okay.
because I am introducing infoceuticals into the Sound Portal and other piece of equipment that will allow people to make their own flower essences right within the portal, and their own homeopathy right inside of the portal, and put it into a glass of water or put it into a tincture bottle or pellets. Those people who
Oh.
aren't subscribed to the AO scanner, because those people who are subscribed to that, they can do it on their own. But people who are
Mhm.
not will have another way to do some of these things. It will be a full portal that will allow you access to hundreds, if not eventually thousands, of different frequencies that you can access at will.
Yeah, amazing. I love there's so many different ways to do this because you can do that with AO Scan app on your phone, tablet,
Yep,
or computer. You can do that with this quantum wellness portal. I love that just the accessibility is becoming so much more available to
absolutely. Yeah.
everyone. Yeah, based off of what your needs and desires are, what resonates with you or what doesn't.
Yep.
This is amazing. It's so wonderful to hear the things that you're working on, how much your practice has evolved since you started, and that you, as a practitioner, have been open to the energetics of healing, to this quantum realm. So I just want to thank you for being an amazing human being and for the work that you do, because it is so needed right
Well,
now.
thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, I really
And
appreciate it. This has
yours
been
as well. You're killing it.
thank you.
You
And I
sent
want
me an
everybody to
email.
know.
You sent me an
Yeah.
email one really quickly. I'm sorry for interrupting,
No, that's
but it
okay.
was so interesting that you were introducing yourself to me, or it was either an email or some sort of message.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, like, I've been watching you since the beginning. You don't need to tell me who you are. It's hysterical that you know who I am.
Yeah. It's so funny because I put all this content out there and I don't know the faces of the people that watch it. I
Of
just see
course,
the
yeah,
little numbers,
yeah,
ticking. And so it's awesome to like finally meet people and get to see that all of these incredible people are on the
yeah,
same page, on the same
yeah.
wavelength. Um, So, if any of this information that Dr. Daryl has shared with you about his sound portal or quantum wellness portal that's coming out, he is offering my listeners a free 30-day access to that portal, whatever it's going to be called in the
Yeah.
future. And we are going to have the link for that in the description below and in the show notes. So be sure to go check that out. We also are going to have his website and information and all of his social media links in the description and show notes so that you can connect with him and reach out, maybe give him a follow on social media as well. So, Dr. Daryl, thank you so much for being a guest. This was an absolute pleasure. And I do just truly appreciate your presence in the AO scan space and just in the health and wellness field in general.
Thank you for having me.